news. Brian Williams, a couple weeks ago, I saw him say, our stories are so negative right now. If you have a good story to tell, would you let, and the response was insane. And so now for 2 weeks they've played a good story. I mean, think of it. They're playing a good story on the news to end the nightly news every night. I think when we come in here, we have so much to lift God up for and to respond back to Him for. This is the problem. This is why I think we really struggle in our response. Worship is a response based in our recognition. Worship is response and recognition. In a lot of aspects of church history, one or the other is practiced. You respond without a true, genuine recognition in your heart of who God is. And that response is really just emotionalism or false worship. We're just going through the motions. And then there's the opposite. There's the recognition, but not responding. Not just wanting to stand and say, wow, this is true. My God is amazing. Here's the sum, I believe, of what is at the heart of why we struggle in our response so much to God. I believe it's that our view of God is wrong. I believe this is why we struggle to respond with energy, and with passion, and with sincerity. Again, I'm not talking about a freak show. I'm just talking about heartfelt, I can't help but say, I can't help but anonymously give this money to somebody in need because look what God's done for me. I can't help but think about the third world when look how we live and look where I can't help but come early to church on a Sunday morning and give back and set up and because I see what God's doing in my life as a result. I believe that if we struggle and if our response is kind of lifeless, it's because our view of God is wrong. We think one of two things. One, I've seen this a lot, and I've had these discussions a lot, that God is egotistical. For God to call us to worship Him, what? Is He like stuck on Himself? Does God need our worship? Does it make Him bigger? Does it make Him more powerful? Does it prolong His godliness? No. We're the ones that need it. God calls us, He calls you to worship Him, to respond back to Him being what you value the most, because He knows that you need it. You need to set Him, and that's what happens in worship. The practice of worship, intentionally worshiping God, is when we make God first in our lives. Intentional worship is when you make God first. It's when you make yourself second. God knew this when He made the world. He knew we would be dependent. Our lives functioning as they should, us growing and becoming who we were intended to be, our lives must function trusting in His timing. We can't explain why this is happening with our child. We can't explain why this project has gone south after 2 previous projects at work. We can't understand why we're maybe facing layoffs. But my God is true to me, and He's got my back, and He favors me, and so I trust in Him. Here's the second fallacy in our view of God. We just see a God other than the real God. A God who remarkably loves us. A God of remarkable, relentless, passionate love for us. Unending love for us. Look what Ephesians chapter 3 says. Paul is writing, the Apostle Paul is writing here. And in many places, it's endless in Scripture. Almost endless. The context of God's love being described for us. Look how Paul sums it up. He's saying that part of my prayer for you is that you be filled with Christ in your inner being. And then he says, and I pray that you, being rooted and established in love, may have power together with all the Lord's people to grasp how wide and long and high and